Hi everyone. Let us continue to study about the Buddha life. So last week we studied about the part that the Bodhisattva ascend to the to see heaven before he came down to the earth to become Buddha. Uh, so these the traditions for all Buddhas in the past, present, and future. um, Before they become Buddha, they would be reborn in the human realms. The reason is that because in the heaven realms, all or most of the celestial beings they enjoy their lavish lives, that they would not pay attention much about the spiritual life. And for the other realms like animal realms, Holy Ghost realms, or hell realms, most of the time they suffer too much. That's why they could not have time to pay attention about the spiritual life. That's why the Buddhas in the past, present, future, they refer to come down to earth to become the Buddhas. So that is the middle ways for them to choose from. And we learned before that the Bodhisattva or the past life of Shakyamuni Buddhas um, who live in the Tushita heavens uh, before he descend out to the earth, he would observe to see whether it's time for him to come down yet, and which country or which families he would be reborn into. So after his proper observations, he recognized that it's time for him to come down uh, to earth to attain the Buddhahood, and that's why he manifests himself to reborn in the royal families of the king Suddhodana and the queen Maya. And of course, before he came down, he would uh, give some indications for the king and queens to recognize as they would have a, special, a wonderful son that would become Buddha in future. So basically, the queens Maya, she kept the precept purely. She kept her body and mind purely, and mm, so both of them, the king Suddhodana and the queen Maya, also practice generosity to help their people as well as the needy one. So because of her virtue and conduct that is so appropriate for the Bodhisattva to take the birth and become her son. So in one night, the queen Maya, she dreamed that some devils or celestial realms beings came down from four directions to take her to a lake. And actually, those celestial beings, according to Buddhist traditions, were the devils or celestial kings of the four directions. And so they came down in her dreams to take her to a lake, and that was called the mm, Lake Anotata at the foot of Mount Sumeru. And they took her there to use water to cleanse and bathe her. And after that, of course, they carry her back. And at that time, the queen have another dreams that she saw a white and tusked elephants entering her right side, and that made her more peaceful and happy. After that, she wake up, and in the morning, she went to see the king and told him about that special dreams. And of course, the king is so surprised, and he invite his uh, counselors, a wise men, to discuss about this kind of unique dreams that the queen just saw. So most of the wise men or the counselors of the court told them that this is one of the most significant dreams uh, that the queen would be pregnant and have a special child, and that special child would be a great beings in the future. So of course, the king and queen so happy because they have not have any child yet, and on the top of that, they so delightful to hear the wise men to mention about a great beings would be uh, reborn into their kingdom. So they celebrate that news, and of course they have out to many people, including the needy one, to raise the blessing and virtue for them. So times pass by quickly, and so after the queen recognized that she was pregnant, she feels so peaceful and happy, and she carried that unborn child for 10 months. And later on, because of the traditions in India in the past, before the woman give birth to a child, she's supposed to go back to her parents' hometown. So that's why she asked the king Suddhodana permission for her to go back to her hometown. That's her parents' kingdom. Of course, the king uh, gave the consent and allow her to go back to her parents' kingdom to give birth to the child there. So after the king order, his soldiers and officers they carry her to her parents' kingdoms, and that is on the full moon um, of the sixth lunar month. And so the king blessed the queen before she left Kapilavastu, um, and she was accompanied by 1,000 soldiers. And somehow, when they reached Lumini Park, um, and we know that the Lumini Park is in between, almost in between, between the uh, kingdom of Suddhodana and the Queen Maya parents' kingdom. So at that times, on the way, she stopped by at this Lumini Park, and this is one of the special park that is so beautiful that it accord with the nature, and somehow the queen stopped by there to enjoy the nature of life, and they especially enjoy the blossom of all kinds of flowers on those trees. Um, and somehow, when she stopped by at Lumini Park, she felt that it's time for her to deliver a child. And somehow they follow her order to rest there. And at that moment, somehow she recognizes time for her to give birth. And uh, um, in the legend, it says that somehow a branch of trees lower by itself, so that the queen could hold on that branch and give birth to the prince. So let me show you this clip, and before I will show you, I would like to share uh, the uh, the screen so that you can watch these video clips. Okay.
Queen Maya was deep inside the wood when suddenly her birth pains began. And then, it is said, a tree, understanding this great moment, bent slowly down to protect her, offering its branches for her support. The child was born with almost no pain, shiny golden skin. He was fully conscious, his eyes wide open, and he was strong enough to stand on his own legs. I pray for creature from suffering. And it is said, lotus blossoms grew in his footsteps.
Okay, so you just watch that video clips. Of course, it's a legend that somehow when the prince was born, he could step 7 steps, um, and under each step has a lotus flowers to support his step. And of course, according to the Buddhist legend, uh, uh, he put one hand, um, point one hand to the sky, another hand to the earth, and say that this is his last birth. Mm. And he was the foremost one on earth or even in the universe. And of course, the other legend is involved that the celestial beings used the golden net to catch him right after he was born. And of course, for Buddhist people, we believe in this kind of miracles. And of course, for all traditions, when uh, they talk about the birth or the appearance of their founders, is all kind of legends or miracles occur. Uh, so did Buddhism. Um, So again, according to legend, it said that uh, the celestial beings went out to use the golden net to hold the prince, as well as washing the newborn child. And actually, this is not a legend. They say that this nine types of dragons uh, blow the waters to cleanse the prince. And here is the image that show that the heavenly beings flew down to support the birth of this prince, and he steps seven step, and after that he mentioned that he was the foremost one um, in the universe, and this is his last birth. And that is mm, his manifestation of being born on this earth. And let me show you another clips that show where the Lumini Parks mm, located in Nepal, and that's where the Buddha was born. Okay, let me move back, and you see this is the aerial view of the Lumini Park where the Buddha was born. And you see this mm, this the place that they built uh, to indicate where the Buddha was born, and this is the lake. Right after the Buddha was born, the queen brought him and cleansed him over there. And this aerial view that nearby this um, place, nearby the places where the Buddha was born, nowadays the Nepalese government allowed um, the Buddhist people from different countries to build their own temple, like it is the Chinese one. Another ones, I think the Japanese, the Burmese, and the Tibetan, and so forth. So they allow Buddhist people in the Buddhist countries to build their own temple at the locations, so that they can host their people to visit this holy place, uh, the places where the Buddha was born. Okay, so for us, without the uh, indication of this location, we would not know that the Buddha actually was born on this earth. But now we would watch these short video clips that talk about the archaeologists have found the exact locations where the Buddha was born, and that's why it confirmed that Buddhas appear on this earth historically, not as a legendary person. Let me show you this video clip then.
The Maya Devi temple is one of the most sacred temples within the Buddhist world. Once you actually go through the doorways, you get this walkway around the edge of the temple, because right in front of you, in the middle of the temple, actually is an archaeological site. Very seldom does archaeology get the opportunity of interfacing with the very beginnings of one of the world's great religions. There are two major significant findings from these excavations. The first is the world's earliest Buddhist structure. And it's not built in brick, it's not built in stone, it's actually built in timber. So it's really exciting because it gives us, for the first time, an understanding of what did an early Buddhist structure look like. The second really significant point is there is a debate as to when the Buddha actually lived, when he was born and when he died. Some have him born in the 6th century, 7th century, some have him born as early as 300 BC. From that very early timber structure, we have burnt charcoal from within the post holes. And the date for that earliest structure is the 6th century BC. And those have actually, for the first time, given us a calendrical date with which we can now begin to understand the lifetime of the Buddha himself.
Okay, you see that now they have confirmed that the Buddha birth was early than before they have postulate. That means the Buddha was born around the 6th century BCE, and of course he's the historical person, not the legendary person. So that's why for us as a Buddhist, we so delightful to have this kind of information. Otherwise, we would have some doubt whether this is a real Buddha or not. So let's move back here. And so here is the image that show the celestial beings celebrate the Buddha birthday when he was born on this earth. And here the passage right after he makes 7 steps. One hand he point to the sky, another hand he point to the earth, and say that I'm chief of the world. Eldest am I in the world. Foremost am I in the world. This is my last birth. There's no more birth for me. So that's why he proclaims right after he was born. And of course, after that, he become a normal child again. And we know that for any child, it's no way for them to walk right after they was born. Of course, whether we believe or not, this is up to us. But according to Buddhist tradition, that's what happened medically. And here is there's some relief sculpture that make from stone or rock that show the prince make 7 steps right after he was born. And others believe that right after the Buddha was born, a special tree blossom at the same time too. And they say that that type of tree is called Isoka or Sarakam trees, and this is one of the special trees or special flowers that blossom at the same time that Buddha was born. And here the location where the Buddha was born, and later on we'll learn more about the life of the King Ashoka, Emperor Ashoka, who erect, set up the pillars at all the Buddha's holy places, especially at this Lumini Park where the Buddha was born. So he erect or set up this stone pillar, and within that stone pillar, he inspired the message about indication of where the Buddha was born and why he set up or erect this kind of pillar. And we know that after watching that video clips, there was a temple right at the place where the Buddha was born, and they found that temple was built by wood, not by rock or not by stone, but they could recognize the lifespan. I mean that how long that location or that temple was built. So somehow with those evidence, they show that there is a historical Buddhas that appear on earth. And here is the point. That's where after the Buddha was born, the queen took him to this point to cleanse him. Mm. And of course, Ashoka put that pillar to indicate where the Buddha was born. And here the image that the queen bathed the newborn child. And so here the inscription of the Ashoka pillars that he inspired those scripture writing on this pillar to indicate that this is the place where the Buddha was born. Mm. So and he said that King Piyadasi, beloved of Devas, in the 20 years of coronations, himself made a royal visit. Buddha Shakyamuni having been born here. So he appeared in India. I mean that Ashoka, he appeared in India around 249 BC. And we will learn about his history later on, especially the reason why he was converted into Buddhism and became one of the great supporters of Buddhism. And one of his ways to support Buddhism is to make those pillars and inspire in those pillars about the Buddha lives, especially where he was born, where he first attained enlightenment, where he first gave the teaching, and the last one where he entered nirvana or passed away. So at those holy places, Ashoka order to erect those pillars so that people in the future, especially us, could recognize and reconfirm our faith that there is a historical Buddha, not a legendary one. So here the image that mentioned about this king, Ashoka king, whom order to erect, to make the pillars and set up those pillars as most of the Buddha holy places. Yeah. Okay. So after the king heard news that the queen gave birth to a son, he ordered his officer to bring a group of armies to escort her and the newborn child to go back to the palace. And of course, he celebrate. I mean that prince, the king and the queens celebrate the newborn child. The people in that country, they're so happy to see the newborn child and their prince. And so definitely the king, the queens, and people at the court took care of the prince carefully. And according to legend, they say that when the prince was born, at the same time, Princess Yasodhana was born too. And we know that later on, because the king Suddhodana, he wanted to keep the Prince Siddhartha at the palace, and that's why he pushed him to get married with this princess Yasodhara. And at the same time, the time that the Buddha was born, there was a birth of Jana. Jana was the Prince Siddhartha servant, the one who went out with him to see the four sides. And this is also at the same time as the birth of the horse, Kantika. This horse, this white horse, took the prince out of the palace so that he could go out to seek for the truth. And of course, this also the same time that they plant the Mahabodhi trees, and that's where we have the Bodhi trees now. They still survive in India, especially at the Bodhi Gaya. And here we talk about their birthday. And according to legends, it said that a holy a hermit person, his name is Ashita. And so somehow in his meditation, he recognized that a great being was born in his kingdom. So somehow he came down from the mountain to the palace to see the king and the queen, so that he could ask their permissions for him to see the newborn child or the prince. And according to the legend, it says that when the Ashita saw the newly born child, the prince, he cried, and the king asked him, why did he cry? And he said that because he would not have chance to see the prince becoming the Buddha to teach him. That's why he cried. And by using his wisdom, Asita, after observe the space mark of the prince bodies, he recognized again the prince would be a great being and eventually become a Buddha. And of course, we know that according to Buddhism, the one who has 32 major marks and 80 minor marks would be two types of person. The first one would be the universal king. That means the king control everywhere. And the other type is that he would be enlightened being to become Buddhas in the future. So with those marks, they indicate that the prince would be the Buddha in future. That's what the sage Ashita recognized and told the king and the queen. And when they brought him, when they carried him, and somehow he put his feet on the head of Asita, and even the king respect this stage. Asita, he's so surprised that somehow the prince put his feet on the top of this stage, and of course Asita, he accepted that because he recognized that he would not have much virtue like the prince, and he would not have the chance to study from the prince when he become Buddha in future. And so again, when the king inquired why he cried, so he said that the prince has the look of a great man, and someday he will attain enlightenment. I cry because I would not have times the opportunities to be around or to see or to study from the great beings, the enlightened one. Mm. So this happened, and the next time they did is that they have the naming ceremony. They invite the wise people in the court to give the names for the prince, and most of them, after considered each other, decided that the prince should have the names of Siddhartha. Siddhartha means wish fulfilled it, and of course the king and the queens accepted happily, and they celebrate. Um, and during the naming ceremony, the Brahmin scholar had a chance to observe closely the special marks on the prince's bodies. So those Brahmin scholar read that eventually the prince would be a great person, and of course, uh, seven of them recognized gave the position that the prince would become a universal king. But for the last one, the youngest Brahmin scholar, he emphasized that the prince in the future would attain enlightenment to become a Buddha. And actually, later on, after Buddha attained enlightenment, he taught the first 5 months, and this young Kundana scholar was one of them, and somehow he made that correct publication. Okay. So that is the thing that we learned today. Okay, let me stop here today, and next week we will study the next part. So see you soon. Thank you.